Indians are spread across the globe. Wherever you go, you will find an Indian, especially an Indian Hindu. In this series developed by TFI, we trace back to the story of how Hindus traveled to different countries across the planet, settled there and made it their home. Hindus are mostly peace-loving people, and all they do is keep their head down and contribute to the society they are living in. Here, we enumerate their contribution and cultural influence to the country they have been to, and also highlight their current status, whether they are in peril or prospering. The first country in the list is the island nation of Fiji. Namaskar, you're watching TFI English, the national socio-political analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm Siddharth, your host. In this video, I will talk about Hinduism in Fiji and explain how Hindus settled there over generations. Let's begin. Fiji, a tiny island country in the South Pacific Ocean, has a considerable Hindu population. Like many countries across the planet with a sizable Hindu population, the Indo-Fijian Hindus were initially brought to the island nation in 1879 by the British colonists as part of the indentured labor system to work on sugarcane plantations. Reportedly, between 1879 and 1916, the British transported over 60,000 Indians. The system was created to provide cheap workers for British colonies after the abolition of slavery in Britain and its colonies in 1833. While the practice was cruel, as was the norm at the time, the Hindus, as they usually do, made the foreign alien conditions hospitable to call it home. According to reports, presently Fiji's population is split primarily between two main ethnic groups: Itoke, who constitute 56.8%, while the Indo-Fijians, who make up an estimated 37.5% of the population. Most Indo-Fijians are Hindu, while the natives are mostly Christians. The overwhelming majority of Indo-Fijians speak Fiji Hindustani or Fiji Hindi. Although Indian laborers initially could communicate fairly well, they had some difficulty at times being understood. Over time, unified dialect emerged. Since then, it has become the language of Indo-Fijian identity. The agricultural base of the country has been developed over the last century by the contribution of the migrant Indian population, who are known for their skills in agriculture. For more than a century now, after the first Indians landed in Fiji, they have contributed enormously towards the economic and social developments of the island nation and generally the Pacific. Ramayana is an integral part of children's education in Sanatan Dharma schools, and nearly 20 to 23% of schools in Fiji are Sanatan Dharma schools. Kids are encouraged to pick music just so they remain glued to satsang and through it to Ramayana. Much like India, the Indo-Fijians brought the indigenous food habits to the island nation as well. Roti, which is the staple bread served with every meal, rice and curry across India, has also become the staple item of Indo-Fijian food. Although Hindu form a major part of the society of Fiji, they are constantly discriminated by the natives. The racial prejudice and the inequitable treatment in different sectors of the country have held the Indian Hindu minority community back. Meanwhile, the long-standing ethnic tensions between the Itoke population and Indo-Fijians continue to linger in the background. In 1999, Mahendra Chaudhary became Fiji's first and so far the only ethnic Indian Prime Minister. However, miffed that an Indian Hindu was at the top governmental post, the native Fijians, brainwashed by businessman George Speight, launched a coup a year after Chaudhary took charge. Reportedly, Chaudhary and his cabinet were held hostage for 56 days in the coup, and ultimately a military coup ensured that he never returned to power. Fiji has had a history of coups. Prior to the 2000 coup, another coup took place in 1987 that removed the multi-ethnic Labour Party from the government. Before the 1987 coup, ethnic Indians accounted for around 50% of Fiji's population. In the 1960s, the Hindu population accounted for over 60% of the island nation. However, the continual political instability in Fiji and a culturally embedded hostility towards Indo-Fijians have led to their emigration, with the numbers dwindling. Reportedly, after the 1987 coup, approximately 30,000 to 40,000 Indo-Fijians fled the country. Moreover, the land laws in Fiji are unilaterally in the favor of the natives, as they do not want Hindus to gain access to their ancestral property. The majority of land in Fiji is still concentrated in the hands of Itoke Fijians, with restrictions on the ability of Indo-Fijian farmers to purchase land under the discriminatory land tenure legislation. Reforming land ownership legislation to provide equal ownership rights to Indo-Fijians has been a long-standing demand, but no significant headway has been made so far. Indian books have little to no mention about the history of Indians, especially the Hindus in Fiji. The government should introduce it in the curriculum and also ensure that human rights of Indo-Fijians are not trampled in the island nation.